What's going on, everybody? Just got done with Jesse Naylor on his channel. Now I'm on my channel with my guy Twin. Gonna be on with Grant at 1 p.m. I gotta dip up out of here a little earlier than normal, taking my son to the airport. Got some escrows to manage. Busy day ahead. But we want to talk 49ers, man. 49ers got upset, got humbled by the Ravens last night. I'm gonna talk to Twin about all that and more. Let me run this intro. We're gonna dive in here.
You down to the right space.
Super Bowl bird hangs in the balance. Montana rolling out the right, looking towards the end zone, throwing under pressure, throws it past. Caught by Clark. Clark got a touchdown. Right back at it.
And your host, Ryan.
All right, man. I'm here with my guy Twin. We're usually on every Monday, but the game was on Monday, so today we are on Tuesday. Had to push back to schedule. Same reason I'm jumping on with Grant today, so I got a busy day today. I'm going to skip all of these promotions and sponsors and all that good stuff because we ain't got time for that, Twin. But I know we got time for that. Please make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. I would very, very much appreciate it, man. Let me just get your take on this game from last night. Let me start with that. What was your overall takeaway from this game on Christmas evening?
Put some respect on these opposing teams' players, mainly number 8. You know, I heard a lot of people talking about the stats, and about Lamar Jackson not really that good of a quarterback and so on and so forth. Hey, I don't mind you being a homer, but God dog it, put some respect on that man's name. You know, his numbers might not look all flashy and dashy, but if you watched the game, you saw how pivotal it was to, hey, just not turn the ball over. I know he gave up a safety or whatnot, but other than that, for somebody to be on the road and to control what he controlled last night, he was a floor general out there, man. And so that's one thing I learned. And the second thing is Kyle, he still has that one question mark that I always had and that we always talked about earlier in the season, but we looked at it as haters when we propose, what are we when we have to come from behind? Like, what are we? And that doesn't mean we hate this team, but there is a question mark because that can happen. So those was the two things that I took away from that game.
Yeah, man, there's a lot to take away from that game, I guess. Kyle frustrated me. First of all, I didn't like the game plan from the jump. I didn't like how he seemed to give up on the game early, how he was unable to or unwilling to run the hurry up offense with Brock Purdy. He didn't start doing that until Sam Darnold got in the game. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the fourth and 1 play call. I didn't get that. That didn't make sense to me either. He had Brock Purdy with the play action on 4th and 1. It didn't make sense, man. So there's a lot of stuff that didn't make sense to me from Kyle Shanahan. And then the big takeaway last night was that Brock Purdy played bad. Now I think it's important to understand that every player plays bad. Steph Curry's had bad games in hoop. Joe Montana's had bad games. Steve Young's had bad games. Patrick Mahomes had bad games. Rough season, honestly, for Patrick Mahomes. So Brock Purdy's entitled to have a bad game, but there's no doubt about it, no question in regards to it. He had a bad game, and I don't understand the caping for Brock Purdy when he has a bad game. It's okay for Brock Purdy to have a bad game. He did. It's okay to admit it. It's okay to talk about it. He had 4 interceptions. People are like, well, only one of them really. That's every quarterback in the NFL. And honestly, if I'm breaking it down, I didn't really think that only one of them was on him. All of them were on him. I mean, when you're a quarterback, you throw the ball and the first person that touches the defender, that's when you as a quarterback. Now, if you throw it to a receiver, tips the ball, and then this interception, or the receiver runs the wrong route, that's on the receiver. But all of these interceptions were thrown, and the defender touched it first. Even the one to Kittle, crossbody, dangerous throw. But if you watch that replay, you see the defender has his hand in there before it hits Kittle's hands and then hits Kittle in the chest. So
yeah,
Brock Purdy had a bad game. It's okay to say that. Doesn't mean he's trash, but it was a little concerning. And I just didn't understand the game plan to begin with. They should have been running the ball to CMC earlier. What was your take on Brock Purdy last night, man? This is the worst game of his career. I think there's no doubt about that. But what was your take on what you saw from Brock?
I think together, him and Kyle didn't do a good job at helping one another out. This is another game that we start the game off in shotgun formation and we're throwing the ball for the first 6 plays again. like throw. And I know it looks good because we got a couple chunk plays, and I understand chunk plays, which are cool. But at the same time, when you open up that defense with chunk plays, and then we get down to the red zone, and then we get pass happy, it's like, hey, my guy, you got a weapon that even the thought of a run can begin to sink in that defense. You see what I'm saying? But when we go away from it, like we did against the Philadelphia Eagles, we went pass, had another turnover. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, these are tendencies that we begin to start having, and these other defensive coordinators are picking up on. Like, okay, I see what y'all starting to do. You know, and that doesn't mean it doesn't work sometimes, but when it's not working and you see your quarterback is getting that ball tipped on first down because you said we're going to start passing the ball on first down consistently, these guys are being taught, get your hands up, because he's going to 1, 2, 3 and get the ball out. So, hey guys, get your hands up. You know what I mean? And so it's not that Brock won't bounce back, BC. That's fine, but against the AFC North, there's been a consistency that we've done against these teams that we need to look at, say, why is that?
Yeah.
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
49ers are
because
1-3 against the NFC North, 2-3 against the AFC, or excuse me, AFC North, and 2-3 against the AFC in general. And Brother Bob says that too. Can't be confident if we play AFC North in the Super Bowl. And you said, why is that? I'm curious. Why is that, Twin? Why are the 49ers struggling against the AFC North, man? Tell us.
okay, first and foremost, the division that they're in, it's always been a nasty physical division. Let's keep it a buck. The Eagles, I mean not the Eagles, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Browns, like these guys play a hard-nosed a physical brand of football. So when we come through, we come to town, it's not like, oh my God, we're not used to physical play. Oh my God, we're not used to the running game. Oh my God, like they know what this is. They're used to it. They're accustomed to it. So one thing they know is like, hey, y'all want to put a helmet on a helmet, my guy? This is what we live for too as well. So we're not we're not the one little
Exception.
small exception to the rule. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And I don't think we handle that very well if we get behind and we turn the ball over. Because that's the one thing we've learned in this situation with Kyle. As long as we don't turn this ball over, we are one of the better teams in the National Football League. But once we turn the ball over against a team that can run the ball and not necessarily throw for 400 yards, but can escape the pocket and extend plays, that's when we get in trouble, because this is when those missed tackles begin to pile up against us and they begin to show in their scoreboard at the end of the game.
Yeah, Jason makes a good point here, and it's basically what you're talking about. You just can't bully the AFC North, man. They are ready for it, just like the Niners. Niners are used to bullying teams. The AFC North, you can't do that. You're talking about the Browns and even the Steelers, even though we won, they're built for it. The Ravens are built for it. Bengals not as much. Bengals just kind of dice this up, but you can't in general bully the AFC North, and that's what the 49ers are used to doing. And it's kind of weird that they went away from it, and part of being a bully is running the ball, and they went away from it, and they started to just they had 16 passing attempts in the first half, which is actually typical 12 run games, but it just felt like coming into the third quarter that they would make that adjustment. Oh, hey, running the ball is working with CMC like it has all year. Let's get back to it. They didn't get back to it, man. They didn't get back to it. They doubled down on the passing, and it just didn't make a lot of sense to me, man. And I didn't understand Kyle's what the hell? Why does Kyle not, bro? Kyle never runs the 2-minute offense in practice ever.
We've
right?
talked about this ever since I've been on your show, my guy. Your show, even in our wins, I've asked you this. What's up with us not wanting to have an up-tempo type of offense from time to time? It's like, dude, we always coming from the aspect of leading. You know what I'm saying? So that's one perspective that our team is accustomed to. But if you are accustomed to being a lead, like in the lead, say for instance, 80% of the time, and then the 20% when you are behind, your guys aren't as confident. They're not used to these different things when you're behind the ball. So you need to get these guys accustomed to it. Even if you do have a lead, up tempo, you know what I'm saying? No huddle. We seen again after an explosive play. Guess what we had to do, guys? Call another timeout. We couldn't get and then once we called a timeout, we still couldn't get the play off, and we had to get another doggone 5-yard penalty. Why is that? Like, you tell me, why is it that we can't get in consecutive plays off of a deep play without having to call a timeout or get a delay of game that put us back 5 yards, and now we got to look at first and long.
Yeah, man, it's part of it's part of the mystery, I guess. Nick Moneymeyer says, "Amen." G, we are a running team, then play action, right? You got to establish the run first in order to be that guy. Steve, real quick, we're gonna jump to something else too, but I did think it's funny, man. And this actually makes me laugh if you think about what Mitch Wishnowski's been up to the last 2 games. He called his own number on the punt fake, and then he's hitting dudes late out of bounds, man. Like, Mitch, you're doing the most, bro. Just kick the ball, dog. Like, hey, I love you, man. You're a Pro Bowler, dude, but just kick the ball, man. You're doing a little bit too much right now. Hey, man, I've seen a lot of people were talking about this defense, trying to give them some of the blame.
Who?
A lot of people, man, on Twitter. That was my response. I don't get it, man.
Oh
like,
my God.
why is it that people are so quick to blame the defense for whenever we lose? It's on the defense, right? It's never on the offense, never on Brock Purdy, it's never on Kyle Shanahan. Despite him throwing 4 interceptions, despite the offense turning the ball over 5 times, it's never on the offense. It's always on the defense. Why is it that we go that route? Why is it the fans want to do that?
Hey, man, I think there's a bias that people like to lean towards, you know what I mean? And they think if you say one thing about this other, this other side, that you want him to be fired, that you think he's not the franchise quarterback, so you feel like you cannot have a gray area in your critique. But it's easy to look over to the defense and, hey, Steve Wilkes can get out of here. You know what I mean? He can get fired, or we have seen other guys come in this position and still play a good defense, as far as what we have had with D'Amico Ryans leaving and Robert Salah. So, like, I think they feel like it's a lot easier to attack Wilkes, but I thought Wilkes should have gotten a doggone golden trophy going to halftime, to not only like to have that lead the way it was and that defense to stay packed the way that they did in those situations early on in that game at home. Man, y'all better give that boy Wilkes some love, god dog it, because that game could have got ugly on several opportunities.
Yeah, man. And Melvin brings up a good point. Why does everyone always protect the offense and blame the defense? That was my question. I don't understand it. Maybe it's because the quarterback is like the number one topic in the NFL, right? Like, who your quarterback is, that's who your team is. That's kind of how people look at football. And maybe that's what it is. They don't want to admit that Brock Purdy had a bad game. Brock Purdy's allowed to have bad games. Every team has bad games. Doesn't mean he's bad. Doesn't mean he's trash. But the reality is Brock Purdy is the main reason we lost. Right? Second to me would be Kyle Shanahan, or maybe 1 and 2. Maybe they're 50-50 responsible. The game plan and the way Brock Purdy performed are the reasons we lost. It was a bad game plan and poor execution from Brock Purdy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can't expect the defense to hold up when you're turning the ball over 5 times. If there's a 3-0 turnover differential between you and your opponent, or if there's 2-0, it's an 82% chance you're going to lose. If it's 3-0, it's a 91.7 or something like that % chance you're going to lose. And these are statistics, facts throughout the history of the NFL. If you turn the ball over 3 times more than your opponent, you're going to lose the game 91.7% of the time. So what the hell are we debating? And it wasn't 3. It was 4 or 5, depending on how you look at it. It was really 4. People, it's like 5-0 is how people look at it. But Lamar Jackson was sacked in the end zone. That's a safety. That's considered a turnover. So it was really 4-0. But if it's 3-0, I didn't even look at 4-0. But if it's a 3-0 differential and you have a 91.7% chance of losing, what the hell does 4-0 mean? That's probably at like 95 at least. So you can't turn the ball over that much and win, man. It's just how it is.
Especially also mentioned in the first half. We just go take the 3 in the first half. Like, to have that many turnovers in the first half of a game, statistically, you are putting yourself in a bad situation, especially when me and you have asked this question. We don't know what this team looked like when we are down double digits as well. So even if you do make the turnovers, it's not like we have data on film to see what does our offense look like when we have to come from behind. That's not something that we're familiar with, which is a good thing. When people want to say, like, we constantly are in the lead, like, okay, I get that. But we cannot be so, like, cocky to believe that we won't never be from, like, we never won't be behind. So we have to understand or propose these questions to people, like, who are we if things don't go our way? When we do turn the ball over, what do we do? How do we adjust? What's the vibe of the team? Because that's been a consistent thing. If we turn the ball over early, we usually want to lose the ball game. So how can we still win when these situations arise? Like, that's my question. You know what I mean? Like, and it's okay to ask that, as a fan. Like, what do we do if we are behind the 8 ball?
I mean, what have we done when we're behind the 8 ball? Lose,
Lose.
unfortunately.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. Now, I hope that's not gonna always be the case with this team. They either got a front run and win, or they lose. That's how it's
Yeah.
been. And I was hoping, like last night, I'm like, man, I got a feeling in my gut that Brock Purdy's gonna lead his comeback win tonight. It's gonna happen. And no, my gut is worth nothing. Right? I need to pop some tums and help my gut out, because that shit didn't happen. I'm still
What a
waiting.
Rolaids, baby.
Yeah, so I need drinks. I need some Pepto, some of that pink stuff. But yeah, no, I didn't. I don't know. It hasn't happened yet, man. This team is not built to win like that, and they haven't yet. And so that's the concern, right? That's why I feel like I took a little slice of humble pie last night. It's just I was hoping this team could pull it off, and they didn't. And it's a
For
concern.
sure.
Outside of Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, what else did you see? Is there anyone else to blame? Anything else to blame? Is the reason we lost, or is it squarely on their shoulders by themselves?
I think missed tackles again, like defensively. That's something
I think the biggest mistakes on defense. Sorry, man, for interrupt, but you brought it up. The biggest mistakes on defense were the penalties. What happened to Gibson? 3 penalties in 2 plays. I don't know what Gibson was doing.
Yeah, that was rare, and
yeah,
that's another thing. Like, we never even hear from Gibson, good or bad, which is, I think, a good thing majority of the time.
mm-hmm.
But every time that we have heard from Gibson, y'all know what has happened though? We've lost. That Brown game, same type of play. Y'all remember, what was it? It was an early hit in the 4th quarter, which extended the drive. We end up losing that game as well. It was on Gibson. And Gibson is a very heady individual, but on both of those plays, he came in early, hit the guy, and then extended the play once again. And like you said, that penalty definitely caused us some issues. So that's with any team, man. If you are penalized, if you are a high penalty team against a team like the Ravens, you probably want to lose the game, adding on with turnovers as well. So we got to be smarter. I think sometimes defense is press. Like, I think they was pressing, trying to create a turnover because that offense wasn't moving. So I think that might be it. When the offense not doing anything, and they like, dog, we need to make a play, because they could tell, like, we're not in the groove. We're not really where we need to be offensively. So now the defense feel like they got to be extra, or like they say, play hero ball. And that's probably what is happening, where the penalty, because of these guys are pressing.
Kent W says, thanks for the $10 super chat, man. Much appreciated, Kent. He says, what I think is funny is Kyle's all about scheme and wanting to win because of it. But what happens when you get behind? You need a gunslinger mentality to get back in it, except Kyle doesn't like that. He doesn't like that. He also doesn't practice it, right? If you don't ever practice, these are Kyle Shanahan's words, not mine. He literally says he does not practice the 2-minute drill. So he doesn't practice the hurry up offense. If you don't practice that, how are you supposed to prepare for it? If you don't practice it, how are you supposed to be prepared for it? I coach basketball for 10 years. I can't expect my players, now they're high school kids, they're not professional athletes, a different thing. But if you don't practice for it, how can you expect your players to do it when you need to do it? It's a big mistake on Kyle Shanahan's part. Now, Kyle Shanahan had a really good season. He's a great play caller. When everything is clicking and going right, he is the man. He can win out a game, put up 40 points, 30 points on you. But it's the opposite when things are going wrong, when it's tough and you have to come back from behind. He does not have a good record at it, and he doesn't put his team in a good position because they don't even practice that scenario, which doesn't make any sense.
What Bill Belichick, like, I hate the Patriots. I hate them. I hate them mother suckers. But one thing Bill Belichick used to do, man, is this dude practice every scenario possible. Like, I used to hate that, but I appreciate it because it was more of an IQ game. It was like, hey, just in case we are in this position, you guys know what to do. You know what I mean? And he'll put that team in some precarious situations. Everybody be like, how did New England win this game? They won it mentally first. They had practiced certain situations and their team was disciplined, and the other team was kind of like, they were shaky. They wasn't assured of themselves, and then they end up having a turnover or penalty. And just by them guys being prepared, they end up winning. And you heard George Kittle and a couple guys say we wasn't prepared for some of the things that we saw out of the Ravens. Like defensively, we wasn't prepared for some of the things that they done, you know. And that's what I believe sometimes, again, the arrogance of our team is like, dude, we have to prepare. What are we when things aren't going right? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's the same scenario that we've seen over the tenure, you know?
Yeah, and the scary thing is what Keith brings up here. The Ravens and Browns are just more physical than us. They literally knock players out. Where that's the thing is like our identity is physicality. And if you're getting out physical by and you're supposed to be the most physical team in the NFL, and that's your identity, and that's how what's going to take you to the promised land, that's concerning. Good point by Keith. Another one, he says, Rams played better than we did. They did, man. They did.
That's a different offensive scheme though. Like they gotta
Different quarterback.
realize a different quarterback who has a different type of responsibility, like with his arm talent, and even how they use the slot wide receivers. We don't use the slot wide receivers the way that they do. The way that they kind of press that LOS with the ability to do these rub screens with their wide receivers a lot of times, or these quick little drags, because they're quick little small guys who got little twisty feet and stuff like that. And so that's what's different between how they run their offense compared to how we run ours.
Also, Matt Stafford has seen it all, and the Ravens came out and was like kind of like a 4-4-3 type of defense. And I don't know if Brock Purdy's ever seen that before. Kind of threw him off.
Mm-hmm.
The windows are very tight too in that game, right? Like the wide receivers are not getting the separation that Brock Purdy's used to seeing from his receivers. Every window is not all of them, but a big majority.
It's not the exact same offense, my guy. Now, dude said the Rams offense and our offense is the same. No, the hell it's not. Like they have certain things that we do, but bro, they're not even a running team first. Like, how in the heck y'all gonna sit here and say that their offense is the exact same as ours, where their rushing is not like ours? Like the rushing game is definitely not the same.
Yeah, I think people think because they come from the same tree that their offenses are the same, but it's not the case. I mean, even if you watch when the Rams won the Super Bowl,
Beat us.
They were just a straight passing team. They had like no run game,
run game
at all. And now they're trying to run a little bit more.
They force-fed Cooper Kupp for the whole. Hey, they looked over there and they just communicated one-on-one. When have we ever sat there and had multiple drives where we just picked on one doggone person? And like, come on, man, let's not do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some base that's similar, right? But there are a lot of different things, right? They're very pass heavy. Just look at the numbers. Look at the running percentage versus pass. Like they'll spread it out and do different things. It's not the same. It's not the same offense. It's really, I mean, the biggest difference, honestly, though, is Matt Stafford is a Hall of Fame type quarterback, man. He's seen this stuff before. Brock Purdy's in his second year, and I think he was thrown off a little bit. The pressure kind of got to Brock, it seemed like, as well to me last night. Like it was a big moment, big game, and Brock didn't really step up in that situation. And hoping he does. He's young, so it's not like I'm going to hold him to the same standard as everybody else. I expect him to eventually build on that platform and be better in those situations. I want to talk to you real quick though about Sam Darnold, man. Sam Darnold got in. There were some good things from Sam, honestly, man, that I saw, but also, he capped it off with an interception, which is what Sam Darnold's known for. Just real quick, man. Also, let's tie this all into one thing, right? Brock Purdy hurt his shoulder stinger, right? He got a stinger, which has happened to him before. Hopefully, it's not an ongoing thing. But he was cleared to play and come back in. And Kyle Shanahan chose to go with Darnold. There's a few scenarios as to why that was, and I think I understand probably the most likely scenario. The line was beat up. It was a shell of the offensive line. He probably thought it's not worth it to throw Brock back out there. But it felt like he kind of gave up on the game. But then he pops Sam Darnold in there, even though Brock's cleared to come back in. And then he finally runs the hurry-up offense with Sam Darnold. What did you think of Sam Darnold? What did you think of the whole thing of going with Sam Darnold in such a situation? And did Kyle give up too soon?
I think he wanted to see what Sam can do. When you have two games back to back where your guy get hurt, you have to start planning just in case something does happen, because this is a reoccurring injury, right? 2 games in a row, a stinger. So now we got to think about, okay, we're going towards the end of the year. We don't want nobody to get hurt. Nobody is saying, hey, man, put Sam Darnold in. But just in case something happens to Brock, at least I think Kyle want to at least have some reps with Sam in the game just in case. So I think he's kind of doing this as a preventative method. You know what I'm saying? To say, hey, he got some opportunity to play. What does he look like? Is his arm a live arm? His arm was a live arm. His decisions were so. You know what I mean? He threw some good balls, threw a couple bad balls, but you got to think about it. He didn't have a game plan, so on and so forth. So I think Kyle kind of did it just to have something in the back of his mind, just in case something is actually wrong with Brock later on in the future.
Yeah, man, I thought Sam actually played pretty good. And that last interception, although, it sucked, ended up still in the game. He actually was, man, like a lot of questionable play calling from Kyle Shanahan, right? They had the opportunity to punch it in, and they call a pass play instead of just running the ball. They called a run play when they should have ran, and then they got, Sam Darnold got sacked. But they were on the verge of making it a one-score game right there, and I think they could have with better play calling. At the end, when he threw the interception, it was kind of just like, I got to make a play because, this is it. And so that interception didn't really bother me that much. But I think in general, Sam played better than I probably expected. Now, again, it's still a small sample size, but he was slanging the rock, man. So that's, I guess, somewhat encouraging. But I'm still bothered by Kyle Shanahan's. It felt like he just gave up too soon to me. Like, I have seen numerous games where the teams come back when they're down by 21 points. We were down by 21. We had like halfway through the third quarter. We had a quarter and a half. And it felt like Kyle's just like, huddle up. This game's over. What the hell, bro? Like, explain that to me.
He slow walked it, man. And again, if you're not confident in your play calling from behind, it's mainly because you're not used from playing behind. You know what I mean? And so again, this is what I was telling somebody against Kansas City. Everybody was talking about like Pat Mahomes yesterday, right? Oh my God, he looking bad, so on and so forth. But I say, God dog it, as bad as he looked, every last one of y'all thought that team still could come back and win. Yeah. Right? Everybody still thought like with everything that we saw with Kansas City, there was still like this little part of your stomach with a little anxiety, like still could come back though. You know what I'm saying? As bad as he played, because we've seen it. He has time on task of coming back like that, and he can make these explosive plays and go down there and score quickly. And so I don't think we're necessarily a team that's done that again. I know we just beating a dead horse with the same thing, but it's like, can we do these explosive plays when the play action is not necessarily going to work, where the opposing team's not biting on the play action because they know you got to pass the ball? So now it's arm talent against arm talent. It's DB against DB. Safeties understanding their keys, not necessarily having to come down and bite on the run. So how do we pass this ball? You know what I mean? And that was one thing that I saw that we had some trouble with. Can we pass the ball when the play action ain't necessarily working because we're not running the ball anyway?
Yeah, Jason, and you made a lot of good points in the comments so far, and I think you're right here. But here's my question, right? He says, I think Kyle turned that last bit of the game into a practice. But here's my thing, man. Practice coming back. Practice, right? If you don't really want to come back, at least practice trying to come back, because we haven't been able to do that yet. I felt like it was possible, man. Like, I really felt like, here's the thing. We didn't score what how many minutes do we have left? 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I believe, when Sam Darnold scored that touchdown, right? Yes. And then defense came back, got the ball, and they almost scored again.
Scored again. We had 3 minutes. There was like 4 minutes left where we had a chance to get the ball before the 2-minute warning. We still had 3 timeouts.
Yes.
And that was so key. If we could score before the 2-minute warning, we had the 2-minute warning timeout and 3 timeouts, that we had an opportunity for the defense to try to get the ball back again. Like, that was, I was like.
And here's the thing. Here's the killer, though, Twin. They didn't start running the no huddle until 6 minutes and like 45 seconds. And they almost, like, they put themselves in a position where they could have possibly won. What happens if you did that the whole fourth quarter, Kyle Shanahan? What the hell, bro? Like, why didn't you run the no huddle earlier? You could have started running the no huddle. To me, if you're in the game and you're down by 21 points in the third quarter, it's no huddle from there on out. You can't play around with time. You need to be in the no huddle from there on out. If you're up by 14, 21 points, you need to be slowing down the clock at all times. But if you're down at all, not even 21, if you're down 14, if you're down 7, You need to be speeding it up because you have to create as many opportunities for yourself to come back as you can. Right? You're not in a position to be slowing down the clock. Kyle Shanahan
Yeah.
does not understand this concept of speeding up the games, giving yourself more opportunities.
Opportunities,
Right?
yeah.
If
And
Kyle
then
Shanahan
now,
would have started this shit in the fucking end of the third quarter, the beginning of excuse my language this morning, beginning of the fourth quarter, they could have possibly pulled this one off, but Kyle didn't even really attempt it, and that's what was
yeah.
frustrating me. Yeah, sorry, man. I'm on a little rant.
No, that's the truth. And somebody just said, and we were playing at home too. So if you're going to run tempo anywhere, the best place to practice this at is at home in Levi's. You know what I mean? And so the third quarter, we got the ball back. It's like, hey man, we're seeing the stagnation in this offense right now. We're seeing there's things that's not necessarily working. And I know you want to grind out your game plan. We get that it works sometimes, but again, it's like a player. You got to have something else besides the three-pointer. You got to have something else besides the drive, or you got to have something else where you're relying on the free throws. You got to be multifaceted in all areas. And so it's not a knock on you as a offensive coordinator to have these things in your toolbox just in case when you need to pull it out. It's not something that's rare, or it's not something that you're uncomfortable with. We have to remind ourselves that in playoffs or in different scenarios, we got to prep ahead of time. We got to be proactive in these situations. And again, I just don't think Kyle does that enough with extending that trust to his great processor in Brock Purdy. If he's smart, he's shown you that he can do certain things. Give him the confidence to say, all right, guys, something ain't right. Let's kind of let's kickstart this thing up. You know what I mean? And he like, nah.
Yeah. It didn't make sense to me. I wanted to like yell at Kyle Shanahan, man, like let's speed this damn thing up real quick. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, he's never lost, he's undefeated, says the Ravens and Brown have personnel that most teams don't. Not a lot of teams can do it to us that what those two did, and I don't think any in the NFC can. Yeah, maybe not from a defensive standpoint. I do want to see what these Lions and well, maybe I don't, but I these Lions and these Rams, I'm a little concerned about what they could do to us offensively, but I don't think either one has the defense to bully us. That's for sure. Yeah. So Keith's right about that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what you expect in the playoffs, though. Like that's what I tell people. I'm not hating when we win against teams in the regular season. I'm not knocking us for going out there and doing good. But I do have to have the foresight to see that in the playoffs, you want to play against special talent. And it's not everybody, but that's who makes the Super Bowl, or that's who end up, you know what I'm saying, making the NFC and AFC championship game is those special teams. And so you do have to be able to have something in place when you're playing against these freaks of nature who got players on the D-line, because they had players on the D-line, the linebackers, in the secondary. You see what I'm saying? So you got to like, all right, this is who we're going to have to play if we want to go out there and get sick. So we got to prep ourselves for these types of situations.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Based on all of this, right? And I got a couple other questions, but based on all of this, what does this mean for the postseason? Does it mean anything? It doesn't, or does it not mean anything? Because the postseason different. It's a different season at that point. But
yeah,
how are you feeling going into the playoffs now, based on this game?
I feel good. I feel good because this has happened several times, and so it's not something that we should be like shocked about. So now we got multiple games of these situations. It's like, okay, for the playoffs, we have something to look at and really prep for. Now, it'll be up to us if we actually want to prep for these things that could happen. Now, if we don't prep for these situations, I think that you're not giving your team the best chance to win Kyle Shanahan if you don't. Because now we got not one game, not two games, but several games of these situations. So that's the hope, is like, hey, guy, continue to do what you do well, but let's make sure we start practicing these situations because they can come up, and
do you think
it's
he
possible
will,
these things that we could see, in the playoffs. So take care of that.
Do you think he really will, though? Do you think he really will, Twin? Do you think Kyle's going to do that?
He needs to, because
he needs to. Do you think he will?
We're starting to see injuries, and I know people are talking like the offensive line. Hey, it happens. O linemen get hurt throughout the entire league, and so we need to start having contingency plans just in case. Hey, if this ain't working right, my guy, we gotta have these other things in the toolbox, man. And don't wait, you know what I mean, to the playoffs to start trying to like protect yourselves from these things. Start doing it now, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to shout out Jason Chayer becoming a new YouTube member. Somebody else became a member today too, but it disappeared on me. I can't highlight it for whatever reason. So I'm sorry, whoever you are. Thank you guys for becoming a member. It's $2.99 a month. Become a Hensley Day One. I appreciate the support, Jason. You've had some great comments in the chat today, and I'm glad you're here, man. Thank you for supporting the channel. It is much appreciated. Let me go back and see if I can find whoever else joined. I don't think I can. I don't think I can. I like to give it a shout out, but it just disappeared on me. And this chat is long as hell. All right, so let's keep it pushing. Jesus Resendez says we need to relax a bit. There's a chance that if Niners make the Super Bowl, we won't even see the Ravens teams in the AFC know how to play the Ravens. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think that like just because you lose to the Ravens now even means you're going to lose to the Ravens again. Maybe this was a practice run for them, and it actually will benefit them if they do play the Ravens. But we also lost to the Browns, we lost to the Bengals, so all of those are concerns. But again, doesn't mean we can't beat those teams when we get there. But the Niners do have some things to figure out. What it shows me is that they're not. If they would have beat the Ravens last night, I would have been like, this is the best team in the NFL, period, and been on route like on cloud nine, riding high, thinking this is the year for sure we getting that Lombardi. Now, what it feels like to me is that it's undetermined. I don't know. I'm not sure. We're gonna have to see how it goes. I'm still confident we're either the best team in the NFC or one of the top two or three. We haven't played the Lions. Lions beat the Super Bowl champs. They're 11-4. Like we're 11-4. So I can't just write out the Lions without playing them. Like there's no head-to-head matchup for us to determine whether we're better than the Lions or not. So I can't write them off. Yeah. Also, this Rams team is hitting on all cylinders. One of the last 5 out of 6. They beat the they took the Ravens to overtime. Only lost by what, 6 points, something like that, to the Ravens in overtime, 7 points. So, I mean, we can't necessarily say we're better than the Rams yet. To be real, I hate saying that, and I know Jim's here, and I don't like talking about that in front of Jim here, but that's the reality, man. So
Hey,
you know,
I see John said we are making the Super Bowl. There's no doubt that we don't have the talent to make the Super Bowl. I don't think we both still believe that. I just think that we're saying there's things like a lot of people was like, hey man, we were crapping on Philadelphia, crapping on the Cowboys, and we just kind of like walking around with our head up in the god doggone sky as if we can't be touched, as if we had answered all questions and we haven't. And so it's not that we're panicking, it's just that hey, this over here can be an issue. Let's not continue to allow this to be an issue because we've seen it several times now and we haven't adjusted to it. So how many times does this have to happen before we create a plan for it when it does come back around? And so that's the only thing I'm saying is like, hey, we need to make sure next time this happens, we need to see something different in the offense or in Kyle's way of thinking so that we can say, okay, now we seem like he got the message and he's ready to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, Jesus, thank you for the super chat, man. Much appreciated. I want to talk on 2 subjects real quick. Niner Gang says the O-line going to kill us. It's a real problem. It is, man. So Trent Williams has a groin issue. I'm not sure how long he's going to be out. Banks, turf toe, back again. That's a problem. Burdell's still okay. I believe they moved Burford out to right tackle yesterday and moved McKivitz to the left tackle spot, which is sketch. And then you got Feliciano who's doing this thing at right guard. But if McKivitz has to play left tackle, I was worried about him playing right tackle. But if he's got to play left tackle, man, we had a guy out there named Bart. And honestly, I try to follow all the roster moves by the 49ers, and I think I remember when they signed him. I think his name's Bart. I don't even remember, but who the hell is that cat? I don't know. I think he played for the Jaguars. But I was like, who is this dude? I didn't realize he was on the team, man. I guess I haven't been paying attention well enough. But, yeah, the offensive line scares me, man. It was the main problem last year. And is main problem coming into this year, and it's still a problem.
But it's always it's the same thing, though, right? Watch this. The offensive line becomes a problem when you have a really great D line that you play against. When we don't play against great defensive lines all the time, we do know how to withhold the pressure that coming from the opposing team. But when you do have guys that are talented, this is where they can become an issue. The great thing about the Eagles last year was their front four was nasty and their secondary was a little bit better. They
Yeah.
had a lot of guys to lead their team in the DC to lead their team. But this year, we beat the hell out of them. So now we're like, oh, that was whatever. Okay, cool. But other teams that's a younger team in Baltimore. They're very spry. And again, it's not like, I think we can beat those guys. I thought we just missed opportunities to do so.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see that even with all that happening, we still had a chance to win that game despite, the situation that we were put in. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, turn the ball over 5 times, you should be losing by a lot more. 49ers did have an opportunity to at least contend and fight, but they didn't. Johnny Chisari says, Twin, I get that, but I'm just saying for you guys, the sky isn't falling. Ryan, Twin, we talk ball every week. How often am I ever wrong? Johnny's never been wrong in his life, ever. Going all the way back to elementary school. So to answer you guys' question, don't ever
Hey, listen
question my
here.
guy Johnny C.
Johnny, look, JC is for Jesus Christ. He's perfect. He ain't never been wrong.
Johnny, man, shout out to Johnny.
Shout out to Johnny, man.
Hey, real quick, I do want to ask you, brother. MVP talk, man. MVP talk. We've had a lot of MVP talk going around here this year. I think it's safe to say Brock Purdy's out of that discussion. When it comes to Lamar Jackson, CMC, Brock Purdy, the three guys that were in the MVP talk coming into this game, I think based on yesterday, Brock Purdy's probably out of that discussion unless he gets like 7 touchdowns over the next game every time or something crazy like that. He's having to ball the F out right now. I think Lamar Jackson kind of cemented his place on top, at least for now. And even on this team, to me, CMC is the MVP of this team. If not Trent Williams, if I'm being real, like CMC owes a lot of his success to Trent Williams. We've seen what happens when Trent Williams comes out of this game, comes out of the games. 49ers struggle, but I want to get your take on the MVP talk.
Yeah. Well, as you tell, if you look at the numbers, CMC, you wouldn't have known he had 100 yards rushing yesterday. I thought he was actually running the ball pretty well. I thought this was a perfect opportunity for us to see a dual back system with Mason and CMC in the game, kind of bring a little more of the physicality where you can run, whether it's to the left or the right, kind of put that defense in a precarious situation, but we didn't do so. I thought it would have been a nice little, a little adjustment to our offense, but yeah, man, I think we good, man.
Yeah. Like, here's the thing. Richard says, "Who cares about the MVP? It's about Super Bowls." Yeah, that's kind of what I'm happy about, man. I think this MVP talk is done. Maybe not. I think it's kind of done, and all I care about is Super Bowls. So
MVP of Super Bowl. That's what I said 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Hey, if you're the MVP of the Super Bowl, I can care less who the MVP of the regular season, bro. Like, who cares?
Yeah, one more super chat from Johnny, $10. I appreciate it, but he says, Ryan, I actually think that talk was bad, freaking distraction, but honestly, I thought defense was great yesterday. You lose turnover battle 5-0. There's no team in the NFL you will ever beat. Facts. I think Tony Romo did it once for the Cowboys. I think outside of that, I can't think of a situation where that's happened. Twin, I gotta cut this one out. I gotta cut this one out early, man. I gotta take my son to the airport. He's gonna play basketball in San Diego, so I gotta get on the road here, and then I'm gonna be back at 1:00 on Grant's channel at 1 p.m. What do you got going on, Twin? And tell everyone how they can go subscribe to your channel.
Hey, man, what's cracking again? Twin Empire, man. It's just like the name below on my handle. Y'all make sure y'all go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Just like that in the Twitterverse as well, man. This evening, tomorrow I'll be on with a good friend. I think me and Bonito. I don't want to mess his name up, but we will be on tomorrow, B. And then B. I think it's BNTO, yeah. But we will be on, and then on Thursday, man, y'all can catch me and my brother, man. We do a pick'em show as well. Catch me on that, and also Warriors. One of y'all could have made my day yesterday, man. Even you and the Niners.
Look, Johnny says my snow gears were looking. Look, it's a thin coat. I got a sweater on and a beanie. It's not that bad, bro. If I was going in the snow, I would have on the pants, the whole deal. So don't leave me alone about it. It's cold in here, dude. Okay. Hey, be on with Grant at 1 p.m. today. I'll be back on tomorrow at some point with the coach. We've been trying to do it every Wednesday. Hopefully, we'll pull it off tomorrow.
Yeah.
Go subscribe to Twin's channel. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. Hit that like button. All that good stuff. Twin, I got to get out of here, man. Drive my
real
kid,
quick.
man.
Happy holidays to everybody, man. I hope y'all had a wonderful Christmas despite whatever happened as far as our football team yesterday, man. Happy holidays to you all.
Yeah, we got to get back to these positive vibes. I'm gonna get back on it tomorrow, man. Twin, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here, being who you are, man. You much appreciated. Thanks to everyone in the chat. I will be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Hopefully with the coach. I'll be on 1 p.m. today with Grant. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Yeah.